Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming two extremely prolific songwriters and vocalists, Miss Barbara Mercer and Miss Barbara Terry. Thank you for joining our program, ladies.
Thank you for inviting us.
Okay, Barbara Mercer, let's start with you. You originally recorded a composition entitled Hey. It was on the Golden World label.
Right.
And I believe this lady sitting next to you was the one that wrote that song for you, right?
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
How did you two meet?
We met through Bob's husband at that time, Mike Terry, and I believe Barbara and Mike collaborated on the tune Hey at Golden World.
Now, Barbara, you used to sing with the original Primettes, who were the Supremes before they were the Supremes.
Many moons.
How did you get started with them?
Well, the group that I was with had broken up, and Richard Morris, I believe, was working with the Primettes at that time, and someone else had left the group, so he merged us together. And we did that Tears of Sorrow and He's My Pretty Baby. So that was their first recording.
I see. Now, Barbara Mercer.
Yes.
Your biggest hit was, one of your biggest hits was a song entitled Doing Things Together with You, or The Things We Do Together.
Yeah, it did have two titles.
Yeah, it did. It was two releases, right?
Right.
I believe the first one was The Other Side of Hungry for Love.
Right.
And the second was The Other Side of Nobody Loves You Like Me, right?
Right.
How did you feel when you first heard that record being played on the radio for the first time after you recorded it?
Doing Things Together with You, or The Other Side?
Doing Things Together with You.
It was a thrill because I was new in the business and young and excitable and excited about it, and it was a good feeling.
Now, Barbara Terry, you and Mike collaborated on several works, if I'm not mistaken. What were some of the other things you did together?
Well, you have one of our artists in the audience that's coming up a little later, right?
Right.
We wrote that What Can I Do, that Miss Lorraine Chandler recorded. Also, was it Delphonics? Also did a version. Freddie Gorman, Bob Hamilton. We did a lot of things in Mr. Wingate's basement. A lot of songs were born there, and that's when I first met Mr. Lewis, writing lyrics there with Freddie and Mike and Bob Hamilton. He's no longer with us. And if we had more time, Barb has an interesting story she was telling me about last night when she impersonated me.
Oh, really? Well, why don't you enlighten our viewing audience at home?
No, my booking agent, Sam Copeland out of Dallas, Texas, had booked me, and he'd heard that Barbara had sang with the Supremes earlier. But out of high school, I was with a group that took over to cover the record, Please, Please, Pretty Baby by the Primettes, when the Primettes became the Supremes. So we did cover that at the Greystone, this group out of high school. So about 6 or 7 years later, Sam Copeland heard about it. He thought I was that Barbara. So I had a gig in Boston. So they picked me up at the airport in this nice limousine and everything. And they said, well, you know, before we take you to the hotel of Bradford, where you pay $7 a night, entertainment rate. So he said, we will take you by the club and show you around the club. So I got to the club, there's this big, huge sign, Barbara Mercer, formerly the Supremes. I said, I never sang with the Supremes. Said, you didn't, the gig is canceled. So I was stranded in Boston for 2 months.
Oh. And what's ironic, Barb never knew that I was the Barbara.
Till last night.
Until last night, we were reminiscing.
Last night?
Until last night. I said, oh, you got the limousine ride.
But being goody two-shoes, you know, I got stranded.
But she could have had the job. She could have had the job.
But, you know, that was just a big lie, so I never sang with the Supremes.
Barbara, Terry, you mentioned Freddie Gorman. Freddie was one of the original Rick Tick artists. Am I correct? He had a song called In a Bad Way.
Yes.
And Can't Get It Out of My Mind. Now tell me.
You're bringing back a lot of memories.
Tell me, what were some of the gigs that you did, some of the live performances? What was it like for you?
Oh, now that was great. And you have another guest in the audience that keep popping up everywhere I go. I followed her behind she closed out and I opened up, and then I had a 2-week engagement down in Louisville, Kentucky. Chris Peterson was the last person I expected to come walking in. Here comes Chris. Hey, Bar. But we worked Greystone Ballroom and 20 Grand.
Arcadia.
It was some other places.
Mr. Kelly's.
No, I never worked Mr. Kelly's. But I usually went to the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm known more out in the suburbs as Barb Adams.
Right.
And I'm known as the songwriter Barbara Terry.
Okay, the vocalist Barbara Adams and the songwriter Barbara Terry.
But I also have a new identity. I'm Minister Bynum now.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Come on, give the Lord a hand. All right. And I want to say I'm writing a book. The reason I brought that in, because I got to write this book. I've got so many stories to tell. I've seen so much, and I'm not going to tell it all, but I'm going to tell enough to testify, okay?
Okay.
From the ballroom to the pulpit.
Let's not forget Cleve's Lounge.
Yeah, you know, you're right. We worked together.
Right.
We kept that corner busy, didn't we?
That's right. We were only, what, 12 and 13 then.
But I think we worked there. Chili worked there, too.
Yes, he did.
Yes, we worked there. Cleves, it was, before it was Cleves, it was Chappie's.
Chappie's.
Right,
Lounge.
Chappie's, right. And, you know, we grew up,
Right.
your homeboy.
Southwest Detroit.
Right. A lot of great talent come from out there.
There's still a lot of great talent. Hopefully we can do something to revitalize the spirit to help young people come forward and to put their talents to good use.
That's true. And I believe that we senior entertainers should embrace our young people and encourage them
I agree.
and support them.
Right, they're our future. It's our responsibility if we want our art to continue to live.
That's true.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Barbara Mercer and Miss Barbara Terry Adams.